Imagine being the king of everything, and I mean everything. The sky bows to you. Time itself is your personal snack. You've got a golden throne, an adamantine sickle sharper than any comeback, and a belly full of your own children. Because, well, prophecy said one of them would ruin your day, so you thought, better safe than sorry. His name was Cronus, and in the story we all know he was wrong. Zeus escaped. Lightning flashed. Titans fell. New management took over Olympus, and the universe got a much-needed makeover. But what if he wasn't wrong? What if Cronus swallowed that last slippery baby whole, felt the little lightning bolt fizzle out in his gut like bad ambrosia, and actually truly won? No rebellion, no war, no chain. Forever. Yeah, forever is a long time when you're a god who's run out of enemies. Mount Othrys, the day after the great devouring. The sky is flawless. Not a cloud dares to misbehave. The Titans throw a feast that could feed galaxies. Hyperion raises a goblet of liquid starlight. Cronus, you magnificent paranoid bastard, you did it. Fate itself just got indigestion. Laughter booms like earthquakes. Rhea, his queen, sits beside him. She's smiling. It doesn't reach her eyes, but hey, no one notices. They're too busy toasting the eternal reign of King Cronus, devourer of time, swallower of children, champion of status quo. Cronus leans back on his throne, pats his stomach, and lets out a satisfied belch that accidentally fast-forwards a nearby nebula by 3 million years. Sorry, he mutters, still settling. Everyone laughs again. Because what else are you going to do when the king jokes about eating his own kids? That night, Cronus sleeps like a god who has nothing left to fear. And when he wakes up, it's exactly the same. Same flawless sky, same golden halls, same titans congratulating him on yesterday's victory. He blinks, mourning everyone. Hyperion raises the same goblet. Cronus, you magnificent paranoid bastard, you did it. Cronus frowns. Wait, didn't we do this yesterday? Oceanus shrugs. Time's a flat circle when you're immortal, my king. Every day is victory day. Cronus forces a smile. Sure, right, victory day. He tells himself it's fine, he's just adjusting. Give it a century or two. 1,000 years go by in the blink of an eternal eye. The feasts continue. The toasts get louder, as if volume could fill the growing quiet in Cronus's chest. One morning, though mornings are optional when you control the sun, he notices something odd. The hall is emptier. Ipetus is missing, so is Coas. He asks Rhea. She answers without looking up from her weaving, an endless tapestry that depicts the same perfect day over and over. They grew tired, she says, said there was nothing left to strive for. They went asleep in the deep voids. Cronus laughs it off. Lazy cowards, more ambrosia for us. But that night, he stands alone on the balcony of Othrys, staring down at the mortal world he's begun to create. Little experiments, tiny humans crawling across continents like ants. He watches a hero slay a monster, watches empires rise, watches lovers betray each other under starlight. And for the first time in a millennium, he feels a pang. Not fear, not yet. Just hunger. Not for power, for something to happen. He shakes it off. He's Cronus, he won. Winners don't get bored. But the next morning, Hyperion doesn't raise his goblet. Hyperion isn't there at all. Only Thea remains of the original 12. She smiles the same smile she's worn for 10,000 years. Cronus asks, where is everyone? Thea answers, they chose stillness, my king, eternal rest. Why fight when the war is already won? Cronus stares at her, then at his throne, then at the flawless, unchanging sky. And for the first time, he whispers to himself, what if I made a mistake? So Cronus does what any reasonable supreme being would do when faced with existential boredom. He redecorates. He carves entire mountain ranges into his own face, twice. the second time with a beard. He invents hobbies. Gardening too slow even for the god of time, he speeds up a forest's growth, watches it bloom, mature, wither, and die in a single afternoon, then sighs, seen it. He tries music, composes a symphony that lasts 1,000 years, attends the premiere alone, claps politely for himself. He even, get this, tries stand-up comedy. Picture it, Cronus on a stage of clouds, sickle as mic stand. So I says to Uranus, "Dad, you're grounding me forever," and he says. He stops, no laughter, because the audience is illusions he conjured of his brothers. They laugh on cue. It's worse than silence. He starts talking to his sickle, calls it sickly, because dark humor is still humor, right? "Hey, sickly, remember when we castrated my dad?" That was a cutting remark. Crickets, literal cosmic crickets he created for ambience. The mortal world becomes his only TV. He watches closely now, zooms in like a divine reality show addict. There's a shepherd who dreams of becoming a king. There's a queen who poisons her husband for love. There's a child who steals fire from a forge to warm his village. Cronus leans forward. Now that's entertainment. He starts rooting for the underdogs, whispers winds to favor certain ships, sends dreams to certain inventors. And slowly, almost without noticing, he starts to change things. Not big things, just enough to keep the story interesting. A hero lives who should have died. A city falls a decade early. A philosopher is born with ideas that make other gods, if there were any left, very nervous. Rhea notices. One evening, she finds him hunched over a scrying pool, muttering encouragement to a mortal rebel leading an uprising against a tyrant. "You're meddling. I'm producing. You're giving them hope. Someone should have it." She leaves without another word, and that night even Rhea is gone. The halls of Othries are silent, except for the echo of his own footsteps. Cronus is alone, truly, cosmically, eternally alone. And that's when the fear comes back. Not fear of rebellion. Fear that nothing will ever happen again. He starts packing the throne room, talking to himself. There has to be more, there has to be. He tries to create equals, shapes new titans from stardust and regret. They bow, they praise, they never surprise him. He destroys them in fits of rage, regrets it immediately, creates them again, same result. He begins to dread waking up, because waking up means another identical day. And then, one day, a mortal prays directly to him. Not to the gods, not to fate. To Cronus. By name. The voice is small, carried on smoke from a tiny altar in a forgotten village. "Great Cronus, Lord of Time, King Undying, please make something happen." Cronus freezes. He hasn't heard his own name spoken with awe in. He can't remember. He leans over the scrying pool. The mortal is young. A dreamer, eyes full of fire. And in those eyes, Cronus sees something he hasn't seen since before the devouring. Possibility. He reaches out, almost touches the surface of the pool. "Who are you?" The mortal doesn't hear him, of course, but Cronus watches. And keeps watching. Over decades, centuries. This one mortal lives a dozen lives, reborn again and again, always pushing, always changing things. Always defying the natural order Cronus set. And with every lifetime, the world becomes a little less predictable. A little more alive. Cronus finds himself smiling, genuinely, for the first time in eons. He doesn't know it yet, but he's watching the spark he thought he swallowed. The spark that got away. Millennia roll on. Cronus no longer bothers with feasts or illusions. He sits by the scrying pool from dawn until, well, there is no dusk anymore. He removed it, too dramatic. He follows the reincarnating soul like a binge watcher. In one life, a thief who steals divine knowledge and shares it. In another, a queen who overthrows a stagnant dynasty. In yet another, a scientist who splits the smallest seed of creation and unleashes energies that reshape continents. Every time the world shifts, becomes brighter, messier, more dangerous. And Cronus loves it. He starts whispering advice into dreams, not commands, just nudges. Try the wheel, fire is your friend, democracy, hear me out. He tells himself he's just keeping things interesting. But deep down, he's beginning to suspect. The soul feels familiar. Too familiar. The defiance, the lightning in the eyes, the way change follows them like a shadow. One night, after watching the soul, now a revolutionary in a modern city, give a speech that topples an empire in a single generation. Cronus stands up. His hands are shaking. No, it can't be. He dives into the pool, literally descends into the mortal world for the first time since his victory. He takes the form of an old wanderer, beard of starlight, eyes like dying galaxies. He finds the revolutionary celebrating in a tavern. The soul, let's call her Cora this time, laughs with her comrades. Cronus sits across from her. You remind me of someone. Yes, who? A storm I thought I swallowed. Cora laughs, thinks it's a metaphor. But Cronus sees it now. The spark, the piece of Zeus that escaped, dissolved into the cosmos, scattered into mortality itself. Not to conquer, just to live. To experience beginnings and endings, love and loss, victory and defeat. Everything Cronus denied himself when he chose eternal victory. He returns to Othri shaken. For the first time in forever, he feels small. Cronus spends the next 1,000 years piecing it together. Every innovation, every rebellion, every beautiful, terrible change in the mortal world. It all traces back to that scattered spark. Zeus didn't die. He chose mortality. Over and over. Because mortality has something immortality can never offer. Stakes. Cronus watches Cora die of old age, watches her reborn as a boy who invents flight, watches that boy die in a war he helped start, watches the soul return as a poet, a mother, a tyrant, a savior. And every time the world evolves, Cronus realizes all the entertainment he's enjoyed for eons. It was Zeus, not as an enemy, as a gift. The rebellion he feared most was the only thing keeping him sane. He laughs until he cries, then cries until the tears freeze into comets. You clever little bastard, you won anyway, just not the way anyone expected. Cronus can't take eternity anymore. The flawless sky feels like a lid on a coffin. He descends again, this time in his true form. Golden armor, sickle gleaming, a crown heavy with the weight of endless victory. He finds the current incarnation of the soul, a young leader named Ilias, rallying the world against a global stagnation eerily similar to Cronus's own realm. Cities have stopped growing, art has become repetitive, people live longer, safer lives. But no one dreams anymore. Ilias stands on a stage of light, speaking to millions. We were not made to be safe forever. We were made to become, to fall and rise, to change. Cronus steps from the shadows. The crowd falls silent. Some kneel, some run. Ilias just stares. You again. And you finally. Cronus drops to one knee. The sickle clatters to the ground. I know what you are. Good. I know what I did. Better. Cronus looks up, eyes full of galaxies burning out. End it. What? Overthrow me, destroy me, start your war, your golden age, your cycles, please. He grabs Ilias' hands. I've seen what you do with mortality. I've lived long enough to know eternal victory is the cruelest hell. Give me an ending. Give me something. Ilias steps back. For the first time, pity crosses his face. No. Cronus blinks. You don't get to decide when the story ends. Not anymore. You chose stillness. Live with it. Cronus rises slowly. Rage flickers old habits. He raises a hand. The sky cracks. Continents tremble. He could erase everything. Force the rebellion. Burn it all down to feel something again. But he looks at Ilias. At the crowd watching with terror and wonder. At the fragile, beautiful, changing world Zeus's spark has built. And he lowers his hand. You're right, that would be too easy. He turns away. Walks back into the sky. But not before saying, almost gently, keep changing it for both of us. Cronus returns to Othries one last time. The throne waits, the flawless sky waits, the silence waits. He sits. And for the first time, he doesn't fight it. He lets the quiet in. He closes his eyes. And chooses what his brothers and sisters chose long ago. Stillness. Not as punishment. As mercy. His body dissolves into golden dust. The dust becomes the hours, the minutes, the seconds that mortals will live by. His sickle falls into the void and becomes the blade that will one day free Prometheus. His crown shatters into stars that guide sailors home. And somewhere, in a new dawn on a changing world, a baby is born clutching a tiny lightning bolt in his fist. He laughs. The storm begins. The cycle turns. And Cronus, finally peacefully, is no more. In the end, the devourer of time was devoured by the one thing he couldn't stomach. Unchanging perfection. And the spark he tried to swallow, it lit the universe on fire. Not with war. With life. So the next time you feel bored on a quiet afternoon, the next time you wish for something, anything to happen, remember Cronus. Remember that the chaos you crave is the greatest gift the gods ever gave us. And maybe, just maybe, say a quiet thank you to the baby who got away. Now go make something happen. If you crave more twisted storylines, hit like, subscribe for dark what-ifs, turn on notifications and share with friends.